Okay, great. Okay, so I will admit all, and then um, at 10 sharp, I will do my introduction. All right. So they're all in the midst of joining one by one. All right. Hi, everybody. Can you all hear me well? Are we coming through nicely? So the time is now 9:59. We will be starting in a short while. So hang on to your seats, right? Okay, so shall we start? Hi, everyone. Welcome to the second webinar in the webinar series titled Critical Conversations in Open, Distance, and Digital Education, or CRITCON in short. The webinar series is an initiative of the Center for Digital Education Futures, or CENDEF, under Open University Malaysia. CENDEF, as a quick introduction, is OUM's recently set up think tank for strategic insight and transformative engagement in open, distance, and digital education. So today's webinar will be led by Professor In Sung Jung, who is a Global Fellow of OUM. She is currently visiting research fellow at Seoul National University's Education Research Institute. She was formerly professor of education at the International Christian University in Japan. And as we know, Professor Jung is one of the foundational thinkers in the field. She has produced a wide array of seminal publications over 2 decades, including the landmark Handbook of Open, Distance, and Digital Education. She more recently published Pathways to International Publication in the Social Sciences, a guide for early career and non-native English researchers. That book was published last year by Springer, and today's webinar will be based on that. Professor Jung's webinar is titled From Idea to Impact, 10 Proven Strategies for Publishing in International Journals. In the webinar, Professor Jung will be providing practical guide for academics seeking to publish internationally. And so, without further ado, I hand over the session to Professor Jung.
Hey, good morning, everyone. I think it's 10 o'clock on your side, right? And 11 on my side. And thank you for joining this webinar. I'm very much delighted to share 10 proven strategies for publishing in international journals. In fact, they are based on my own experiences and years of mentoring doctoral students from many parts of the world. I hope the session will encourage you, not discourage you, and give you confidence for your own publication journal. Let me share the PowerPoint that I have. Okay. Is it clear?
Yep, very much.
Okay. All right. And I will skip this part about me, as David just introduced me very kindly. And you can Google my name and find more about my work. Let us move straight into today's topic. Here's today's agenda. I will highlight some things you must know before you even start writing. Second, I will present 10 proven strategies for publishing in international journals. And finally, I will conclude with 2 takeaways, and then we will have some time for questions. Okay, let's start with the landscape. International journals are different from domestic ones in several ways. First, language. Most reputable international journals publish in English, and the audience are different. Domestic journals usually serve a national audience, while international journals reach out to a global leadership. And themes and topics are different. International journals expect international relevance, whereas domestic journals prefer topics with local importance. Rigorous methodology, strong evidence, and clear contributions are essential in both types of journals. But as you may know, these standards are often more stringent in reputable international journals. The review process is stricter and longer in international journals. A decision may take months or sometimes years, and multiple revisions are quite normal. Publishing entities, domestic journals are usually published by local universities or associations, whereas international journals are often managed by global publishers such as Springer, Elsevier, and Taylor and Francis, which have a wider international distribution. Publication fees, some international journals, especially open access ones, they charge article processing charges unless they have sponsorships. So understanding this landscape helps you set realistic expectations. International publication is not quick or easy, but with the right mindset, choosing strong topics, positioning them globally, and being patient, the process can be both rewarding and impactful. Okay, let's go to the next one. Another thing you need to know before publication is that a journal's reputation can be measured through its abstracting and indexing services. Top tier or tier 1 journals are indexed in Web of Science. It's a WOS in short, especially SSCI in the social sciences, SCI in science area, and then AHCI, which is Arts and Humanities Citation Index. I put the Scopus under tier 1. Scopus is also positioned as tier 1 here, as it is the first step toward WOS indexing. Scopus itself is not quite top tier yet, but it's usually the first step. So papers published in this category gain global recognition. Mid-tier, tier 2 databases include PubMed, PsycInfo, IEEE Explore, and these are important within specific disciplines. Tier 3 databases usually include ERIC, and local, regional, or country national databases, such as in Malaysia, you have MyCite, right? And then Korea KCI, Korea Citation Index. And they are very valuable, but have limited reach. Across all these tiers, there are open access journals, and they are usually listed in Directory of Open Access Journals, DOAJ. Here, there is a word of caution. There are predatory journals. So always check the indexing to make sure that the journal is indexed in legitimate databases that are listed on this screen. If it only claims Google Scholar indexing, be cautious, because Google Scholar is not a selective database. If the publisher's name is unknown or very new, it's better to check carefully. If in doubt, you consult your advisor or experienced researchers, or use tools like Think, Check, Submit. There is a website that you can go and check, or DOAJ to confirm legitimacy. So if you submit to a predatory journal, you could lose some money. You can waste your money, but also it can damage your reputation. So be careful with the predatory journals. Okay, when we talk about impact of a journal, we mean, will others read, cite, and use your paper? That's the focus. That's the main point. Journals in WOS databases use journal impact factors, JIF, as their main index, which shows average number of citations received in 2 years by articles published in that specific journal. So and then they also use other indices such as eigenfactor and article influence scores. So you don't have to know all this, but they use different factors. The most important one is journal impact factor. In Scopus, they use SciScore, very similar to journal impact factor, but then they calculate 3 years of received citations. And they also use SJR, SNIP as their impact matrix. Plus, we now see Altmetrics, which track mentions of your paper in news or social media. So that's becoming also important. Another one is the high index, H index, shows how many papers an author has that each cited at least the same number of times. Difficult to understand, right? So I will give you an example. If you have a high H index, you can check your Google profile. H index is 10. That means you have 10 papers cited at least 10 times each. So pretty high. If you have more than 30 or 40, then 40 of your papers cited at least 40 times each. So very high index. Of course, metrics are not everything, but they are signals, right? Higher metrics indicate more citations and higher perceived quality. And so editors and reviewers can care because higher impact journals, they want papers that attract people's attention. For you as an author, metrics influence your career promotion and grant opportunities. I'm sure that OUM has certain kind of criteria where your paper is published. So know them, but I will say don't obsess over them, okay? Let's move to the next one. I have listed a few examples of international journals in our field. Please check which abstracting and indexing databases each one is included in, as well as their impact scores across different metrics. The right side figures show impact metrics for International Journal of Education Technology in Higher Education. You notice this journal is indexed in WS, SSCI, because they are using Journal Impact Factor, as well as Scopus, because they are using SNIF, SP, and IJR, the Scopus metrics system. So and when you look at the downloads, it's quite impressive, right? 3 million, over 3 million downloads. Speed is rather quick. 20 minutes, they will make a first 20 days, they will make a first decision. And then 156 days, less than a year, they will make a final decision. This is quite impressive numbers. Anyway, you can find similar information on each journal's website. So when you select the journal, you may want to go through those information. Okay, last page of the landscape. Knowing the typical submission and publication process will help you prepare your publication journey. So first is submission. Once submitted, the editorial team or a managing editor will check if you follow author guidelines. If not, then they will send it back to you. If the paper is really good, then they will ask you to make some changes. But if not, then they will reject it. Then the editor does a quick desk review, looking for originality and contribution. Even if you follow all the guidelines, your content, there's nothing new, then it's rejected right away. So the previous journal that I mentioned in the example, it takes 20 days to make such a decision. If it passes, the paper goes to peer review, finally, and usually 2 or 3 reviewers. They assess quality, clarity, and significance following the journal's review guidelines. The editor then decides whether they will accept, ask revision, or resubmit or reject. Now, this is not the final, but then you will receive the email asking for revision, or it is accepted as it is, and finally, the decision stage. In most cases, you will be asked to revise and submit again. Sometimes the journal also asks if you want open access at this stage, at the last stage, which involves APC. So whether you will pay or not. This is a fee paid to make your paper open access, usually ranging from $200 to $1,000. I was quite surprised. Recently, my paper was published as open access. I had to pay $700, which is not that expensive these days. So it's quite high. But then, research funding agency usually support open access. So remember, publication is rarely a one-step success. Revisions are very normal, and they usually make your paper stronger. So don't get discouraged. Top-tier journals have at least about 5 to 6% acceptance rate, and then I heard that it's becoming low and low. So only 2%, 3% will be accepted out of 100. And good ones, usually less than 15%. So there are more people who get rejected. Don't get disappointed. All right. Now, in research and publication, there are several ethical standards you must follow. They include your institution might have some guidelines, national research ethics code, standards set by academic associations in your field. Here, I like to highlight 2 international organizations' ethical principles that are most often followed by social science journals. One is APA, American Psychological Associations, and another one is a Committee on Publication Ethics. Okay. APA guidelines, I mean, it has a long list of guidelines, but it emphasizes 3 points. One is integrity. This is most important. Never plagiarize, fabricate, or falsify your data. Ignorance is no excuse. I didn't know that. It doesn't count. Okay? So remember that most journals now use Turnitin or Authenticate. This is a software. They check possible plagiarism. So I mean, you can check it yourself and see whether there is unintentional plagiarized parts. Reviewers, editors, with their experience, they will know this is something strange. They can detect misconduct. So one ethical failure or your mistake can destroy your career. I mean, they put your name on the list. Second, authorship and credit. List only those who made substantial intellectual contribution. This is important, especially in the context of Asia. You put your advisor's name somewhere. And, advisor, of course, advisor will give some comments, but comments or feedback are not a part of substantial intellectual contribution. So you can put their name in the acknowledgement and then thank you notes in the acknowledgement section, but not as an author. So this is quite a strong emphasis of APA guidelines. Another one is, what about AI? AI cannot be a co-author. So AI tools may assist, but only humans can take responsibility as authors. So any AI use must be disclosed. So please check the journal guidelines on the AI use and disclosure. Okay. The second one is committee COPE ethics, very similar to APA guidelines. So I will just skip here. Okay. The last thing that I want you to know before we move on is that I did the interviews with 7 successful authors and prominent journal editors. They share several traits, such as they write on topics they really care deeply about, they are passionate about. So research itself, topic itself, is something that you really care about. They read extensively, not just write, read extensively and stay updated. Another one is they revise again and again. Rarely is a first draft good enough for them. And they choose journals strategically. If they know this is not the high quality, they are not going to the top tier journals because they are wasting their time, and they will go to the like magazine or a little bit, a little bit wider access, but the quality impact factor is not that high. So strategical selection of journal is another one. They don't quit after rejection. Even if they receive rejection, they're not discouraged. They learn and resubmit. They manage time strictly, and they try to build diverse collaboration networks with other researchers. And finally, they think, especially these days, language is no longer a barrier with assistance of tools and human editors. So keeping this in mind, let's begin with the first strategy, proven strategy. Your attitude and mindset matters. So I found that this is important to be successful in publishing in international journals. Do not think only about getting your paper published. Think instead that you are sharing and expanding knowledge as a global scholar. So in order to publish in international journals, your mindset needs to be changed. You are a global researcher. You want to be a global researcher now. Carol Dweck, I'm not sure whether you know this. This book is quite popular. Reminds us that our mindset shapes our life. When she said, a simple belief you hold about yourself governs a large part of your life. I think I am a strong believer of this word. And then Tiger Woods once said, he makes sure every day he does something to move forward. So every day he does something, move forward toward some goal, I guess. So the same applies in international publication. International publication. Progress in publishing comes from a growth mindset as a global researcher and daily habits, not from one-time effort. So here comes our second strategy. Then what habit is most important? I will say to build a consistent writing habit. This is our second strategy. Most of us think, I will write when I have free time. But in reality, free time rarely comes. Teaching, administration, and family duties and something else always fill your calendar, right? If you wait for perfect time, you will never write. So what you need to do to create a system, some scholars wake up an hour earlier to write before checking emails. Or others write at night when the house is quiet. Some assign every Wednesday or Friday as a research day or a writing day. Some commit to write 200 words a day. By the way, if you write 200 words a day, it's a very simple, a few sentences, but within 30 days, you will have a 6,000 word first draft of one paper. So doing every day, I find it very effective. Techniques like, you can use techniques like habit stacking, which is linking writing to something you already do every day. So this will help. For example, after your morning coffee, this is what I did. After my morning coffee, I immediately open my draft and begin to write. So for 1 hour. And then checking emails and do something else. Another technique is a temptation bundling, which means, for example, you allow yourself to listen to your favorite music after writing. Or instead of listening to favorite music, you can go out for drinking after writing, only after writing. So this is called temptation bundling. You bundle your temptations. And then there's something that you need to do. The key is not to write a lot in one setting. It's very difficult for busy people, but to write regularly and consistently. Over weeks, months, those small pieces accumulate into full manuscript. I like to highlight that writing is not about sudden inspiration. It is all about routine. So I want to think about, make a time management system that will work for you. Okay, let's move to the next one. Strategy 3 is to ensure the quality of your research. Your research quality is not high. It's going to be challenging to get it published in top journals. So I like to highlight 3 points here. As an editor, the former editor and then reviewer of the papers, the most important thing is whether your paper has something new. What is new in your paper? Originality, something new. If your paper doesn't add something new, it will struggle. So, but here, new knowledge does not always mean revolutionary. Okay, it can mean studying a new population, applying a theory in a new context. If many people applied A theory and you apply B theory, okay, offering a fresh analytical perspectives or critique existing assumptions, something like that. So it doesn't have to be really revolutionary, okay? So something different. But remember, the novelty alone is not enough. Your study must also be grounded in theory, existing theory and previous research, existing literature. That means building on a clear theoretical framework, positioning your work within existing literature. You have to show that you know what's going on in this field, in your topic, around your topic. And then your topic add this something new, demonstrating how your study extends or challenges early findings. This is another category of research quality. Then finally, every strong paper needs methodological rigor. That means a clear systemic research design, reliable instrument, valid data, transparent analysis, full ethical consideration, and so on. I'm sure in the research classes, you learn how to systematic design of your research. So methodology is important. Top-tier journals usually do not accept case studies unless it's really rigorously followed. You use your class as a case and report, I applied this and this worked. That's not usually accepted. Or survey studies in our field, simple survey studies will have some difficulties in get it published. But if there is something new, then that's a different story. I have seen many papers rejected not because the idea was uninteresting, but because one of these 3 pillars was weak. So before writing, ask yourself 3 questions. Does my study contribute new knowledge? Is it theory-based and grounded in prior research? And finally, is it methodologically rigorous? If yes, then you are ready to move forward. Okay, I have 2 books here that may help you explore theories in open distance and digital education for your research. The first one is the Handbook of ODD, which David mentioned, edited by Olaf and myself, available as open access. The whole 2 volumes of handbook is free, so you can use freely. And they have several chapters on theories. Another one is Open Distance Education Theory Revisited, which I edited. It's not open, but it's a small book. Will be a good start for you. I'm confident that you will find relevant and applicable theories in these books. Okay, another one, strategy 4, that is to choose the right journal carefully. This is a crucial decision, actually. A mismatch between your paper and journal scope is one of the most common reasons for desk rejection by the editor, right? So more specifically, I want you to read recent issues of relevant journals and see which one fits my topic and my area. See what kind of topics and method those journals publish. Some journals only publish qualitative studies or quantitative studies. So you want to check the methodology as well. Check the aims and scope on the journals. If your paper doesn't fit, don't submit. Look at acceptance rate and review timelines. If you have to publish right away, and it takes 2 years to get it published, you may want to find something else. So these are some practical tips. So I want you to be realistic. Remember that top-tier journals are highly competitive, less than 5%, around 5% or 10%. Sometimes it's better to publish in mid-tier or the tier 3 journals, but respected ones. Then just wait years with the repeated rejection. So select your journal as carefully as you design your research. When you design your research, you spend a lot of time, right? Selection, this journal selection is make it strategically, okay? All right, strategy 5 is to build mentoring relationships and academic works, especially if this is first time you want to publish in international journals. You may want to have some mentors or some collaborative work. Early in your career, having a mentor can save you from unnecessary mistakes. Mentors can advise on where to submit, how to frame your argument, how to respond to reviewers. So you make a network with, they open opportunities for co-authorship. You don't have to do always by yourself. When you begin to publish in the international journals, you may want to invite someone and do it together. Many successful papers today are written by teams from different countries. International collaboration increases credibility and widens readership. And you can do comparative studies with an international collaborator as well. Let me give you a few practical tips. How do I make develop network? You attend conferences, even online. Online conferences, quite easy, not easy, yeah, easier than the face-to-face one. Ask questions to the presenters that their topic is similar to yours, and connect with the presenters. Okay, join academic associations in your field, participate in research seminars or writing groups. So this is not here, but ask questions and connect with presenters. What I did when I was young, I took a picture with the presenter. If presenter make a very impressive presentation or similar to my topic, and then I take a picture because we forget who's who, and then exchange a name card, take a picture, and send the picture to that person later so that you can have email connection, right? Easy for you to follow up and discuss your topics. Remember, academia is not a solo journey or solo business. Believe me that mentorship and collaboration will multiply your chances of success. So this was a strategy 5. Strategy 6 is to use digital tools wisely. And I know that OUM, many staff members, they use AI tools, not just OUM, but across in the other parts of the world as well. ChatGPT can help you brainstorm outlines and suggest titles, improve clarity of your writing, and many more. And there is a Grammarly or similar programs help you with grammar and style for professional academic writing. This is better. Maybe they are AI powered. Reference managers like EndNote. I'm not sure whether you are using EndNote, Zotero or Mendeley save you from formatting nightmares. And plagiarism checkers. I already mentioned Turnitin or Identificate. Make sure your work is original. I mean, you didn't make any, missed any references. But remember, tools are not a substitute for thinking. Of course, AI, they provide some very thoughtful ideas, but they cannot decide your research questions, right? Interpret your research results, use them wisely, and always take responsibility for the final product. And think of them as a supportive assistant, not as a co-author. It cannot be a co-author at this stage. Maybe in the future, who knows? There might be some changes. Okay, strategy 7 is to write, rewrite. Don't just do it at once. Your first draft will never be your final draft. At the beginning, don't worry too much about grammar or perfect sentences. This is what I do. I just write without thinking about grammar or anything. Just focus on getting your ideas down on paper. Then revise repeatedly and systematically. Always read author guidelines, systematically meaning that you read author guidelines carefully before you even start writing. You want to know how many words, what other regulations are there, and then create a detailed logical outline that follows the journal structure. Will save you a lot of time later. Personally, I often revise my introduction part because introduction is quite important. It has all those important components. I do this 5 to 6 times average first, and then follow that logic, and then I begin to write other sections. Each round makes the argument sharper. Remember, great papers are not written once. They are rewritten many times. So the key is plan carefully, write freely at first, and revise repeatedly. I think this is important. This cycle, plan, write, rewrite, is the path to producing a strong paper. So here is an example on a paper structure I apply before writing my quantitative paper. Usually, the requirement is 6,000 words, or sometimes 5,000 words, including all components. So I begin with an abstract about 150, depending on journal's requirement. And then the introduction, I plan the structure in advance so that I know how many words I have to write in each section. So introduction combines with the literature review because I don't have enough space for literature review, unlike your doctoral dissertation or master's thesis, right? So introduction include literature review and about 1,200 words, 20% of your paper. And it includes like background, research gap, theoretical framework, research questions. I usually use these subtitles, and then about this many words. It's quite flexible, but usually I follow this. If you are a first writer, first time, try to publish in international journals, this will help. You can just follow this guideline, this suggestion. Method is about 900 words, 15%. Research design, participants, instrument measurement, and data collection analysis. Result part, about 20% of your paper. So if you have 3 questions, my result section also have 3 answers. So I'm answering my research questions listed under introduction. So it's easy to follow as a reader. And discussion part, 1,200 words, about 20%. So I have like 1, 2, 3, 4, or even 5 points. Then I discuss, relate to previous studies. Always try to relate to existing literature. And then conclusion, 300 words. I don't repeat. I do not like repeating the same thing again. So conclusion is a real conclusion, about 5%. References, less than 20% of your paper. So about 50 references maximum. So this structure will help me plan in advance, control the word count, and keep my paper balanced. So this is what I do. And there is another suggestion on qualitative paper standard structure in my chapter 8 that I gave David. I left to David, so he can distribute the chapter 8 if you want to get it. Okay. Strategy 8 is related to reading. I'm talking about writing, but suddenly I'm talking about reading. So reading before and during writing is really important. Good writing comes from good reading. So by reading high quality articles from the journals that you wish to apply to, you learn how authors build their arguments, structure their papers, and use evidence. And reading also expands your vocabulary, improve your critical thinking, and give you models for academic style. So I want you to read maybe a few top articles from top journals that will help. Here are some tips from my experience. This is what I did before. First, read 1 or 2 papers a day, because you cannot read so many, 1, maybe 2 papers a day. If it's too much, then you can adjust depending on your schedule. Then take notes, not only on the content. I also look at the structure or logic. I check their logic as well. Notice how introduction identifies a research gap. Surprisingly, even the articles in the top journals do not have that clear link between existing study and then their study and their topic. So you can kind of criticize their work as well, and how methods are described, how conclusions are framed, and other components. So you can check on that. If you want to publish internationally, you must read internationally. So that's my strategy 8. Next one is strategy 9, is to seek feedback and revise. As I told you, it's not a solo journey. So it is hard to see your own weaknesses, right? So feedback is very important. Share your draft with colleagues, mentors, or writing groups. Send it to somebody else, and then ask specific questions like as many people say, oh, this is good. Oh, I find it's very nice. But you give some specific questions, not too many, but some like, is my contribution clear? I told you the contribution is very important, and the structure is logical. Are there unclear parts? Something that I need to improve? You can also use digital tools for support. If you have nobody around, then you can use digital tools and then they will provide some feedback on logic. I find ChatGPT's logic check is quite dubious to me, but not sure. So you can ask your friend, your advisor, or somebody who may know this. When revising, start with the big picture. So do not pay attention to, small things first. Feedback doesn't mean the proofreading. Proofreading and editing is different. You pay attention to the big picture, structure, argument, then move to paragraph and sentence level, and then finally polish minor errors. Minor errors, it was difficult in old days, but with the help of ChatGPT and other tools, it's quite convenient, right? Efficient. Okay, finally, strategy 10 is to learn how to handle rejections. You will have so many rejections, and sometimes the reviewer's comment is, oh my God, did the reviewer really read my paper? So, but don't be discouraged. Every scholar, even the most famous, has faced several rejections, sometimes repeatedly. I myself have had papers rejected 3 or 4 times, maybe even more, before finding the right journal for me. And then keep improving the paper. So the key here is don't take it personally. Read the reviewer comments carefully, because some reviewers comment I just ignore, but then, there are comments, very good comment, very critical comments. So you read carefully, revise where possible. And sometimes some reviewer suggests totally different data collection methodology, which is difficult to do at this stage, right? So it's not possible. And you do not need to implement every comment, but you need to explain, right? This is a very good comment, but at this stage, it's difficult to gather data one more time or something like that. You have to write. Make sure the reviewer's main points were addressed. This is important. You have to write this, how you respond to each of the reviewer's comment. You don't have to say, I did this without, thinking about the quality of your paper. You have to be more strategically address their comments. Resubmit. You can resubmit to the same journal if it is encouraged, or you can go to another outlet if not encouraged, okay? Rejections are not the end. They are part of the process. This is important. This is part of the process. In fact, review feedback is often the best free advice, right? You can get. So I think this is a free advice for me. I don't have to ask somebody to review my paper. If you keep learning and revising, every rejection will bring you closer to eventual acceptance. So don't get discouraged. So that was my last proven strategies. To conclude, I highlight my two simple but powerful takeaways. Protect my writing time. Create a system that makes writing a regular and non-negotiable part of your week. So if Wednesday is my research writing week, then if somebody asks you, oh, let's meet on Wednesday, you have to say, oh, I have a very busy schedule on Wednesday. You have to say no, very strictly. And the second takeaway for me is to keep my keep writing consistently. Even small amount written regularly will accumulate into substantial results. If you remember these two habits and practice them faithfully, they will carry you a long way in your publication journey. Okay, thank you for your attention. And now I will be happy to take your questions. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you so much for that, Professor In Sung Yung. All our guests here would come from very different backgrounds, from like early career to mature academic writers already. But I think of the many, many tips that you've shared, they will resound with every scholar of every level. We all need to be reminded of certain things. Like listening to you earlier, I was listening to you saying about how you also emphasize that towards the end of how we need to create space and discipline to keep writing and keep it as a habit. Otherwise, you become like tofu, and then you just become very lazy and just waiting for the perfect day to happen before you start writing all over again. And so that's not very productive. And some other things that you mentioned, like needing to avoid predatory journals, not needing to push oneself to publish or perish. It is important not just to get published, but to get published in the right places, or your reputation will be ruined. So I think in that way, all of us have many, many things to learn from what you've just presented. But yeah, just to see if there are any questions coming from our guests to the webinar. If you would like to type into the text box any questions that you might have for Professor In Sung, who is addressing this topic as a very seasoned academic who's published a book on this thing itself. So you're hearing it directly from the horse's mouth. So any questions at all? Yes, there is a thing that says, where will the recording be posted? Yes, we will after this. We will collect the recording, and we will place the recording on the CENDEF website. CENDEF is CENDEF. So if you just Google CENDEF and OUM, you will find the website. Under events, I think, you will find the webinar, and that's where you will find the recording as well as a sample chapter from Prof's book that she's happily shared. So you can get all that from there. All right. Any other questions at all? No? No questions? Well, what we're getting are, please share some tips on how to increase citations for our papers. Would you like to address that, Prof?
Okay. The one way that journals usually promote is that ask author to create a short video clip to summarize your study. And I think their video will be published in their website as well as YouTube and available across SNS. And what I do is to publishing the web, my SNS, LinkedIn, these days LinkedIn and some other thread or Facebook, Instagram, or whatever SNS you have, and then ask your friend or your colleagues to share. That's one side. Another side is that you could make a presentation on your paper. And in that case, you have to ask the journal whether you can present, because it could be a plagiarism. You use the same work in two different places. So you have to get the permission from the journal saying that you're gonna present this, and then journal will usually say yes, but do not put that in your in the proceedings as a whole. You can summarize and put in the conference proceedings, that's fine, and then you have to get the permission from the journal anyway. If journal has has the copyright. So publication, you publish and then you present. That's usually what people do. So you have to be creative. There are certain ways that the ResearchGate or academia, people will ask for your paper, to send you a paper personally, or they're interested in your paper. So you distribute through the paper. But I found if you write a really good paper that are adding new knowledge, eventually you will get invitations. That's what I found out. So writing a good, really interesting paper is usually good. Another topic that I found has many citations is review of previous studies using different methodologies, because people want to see what's the result of the review of all related articles. So meta-analysis or critical review of previous studies, those papers get more citations.
All
Did
right.
I answer your
Yeah.
question?
Thank you for that. Yes. So, to summarize the answer, in order to increase your citation count, you would have to really publicize the fact that your paper exists in the first place, right?
Mm.
Only when people know that your work exists, and if it's accessible, then they will start reading, and then they will find relevance to what they're doing, and they will cite you, and then you'll get your citation up, right? Okay. Any other questions? Oh, yes, there's one question on papers of more technical.
Mm.
Yeah. Does the 6,000 word count apply?
I think it depends on the journal. You need to check out the journal. I found the social science is usually 5,000, 6,000, or I can go up to 8,000.
Yeah.
But then if you are in the natural science field, it could be shorter, much shorter, or much longer. So you can check your journal of your interest will have different word count. If there are some journals, they said, oh, the length doesn't matter. You have to be very cautious. It could be predatory journals or that are very generous journals. Usually they have word limit, even 4,000 words in some cases. So please check carefully.
All righty. So if there are no more questions, we'll need to wrap up very soon.
Mm.
But before that, I just want to thank all of you for attending this webinar. Please be reminded that you can get more information about the webinars, past, present, and future on the SENDAF website. And also, of course, we want to thank Prof. In Sung Jung, who has very kindly, dedicated her time to present to us the basics, the practical steps of getting published internationally, ethically. So, if there's nothing else, I would like to thank all of you again for attending, and to Prof. In Sung, yes,
Can I just share one thing?
yes. Oops.
Sorry. So, for more details or further questions, please refer to my book. This is the book. Consult with academic advisor or mentors, or feel free to email me directly. I'm semi-retired, so you can email me using this email. So, and then David also mentioned about those files. Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you for sharing that, Prof. So for those of you who are interested, please feel free to get the book and read up further. So, and on that note, again, I want to thank all of you for attending this webinar. Please do join us for the next webinar next month. The information will be up on the SENDAF website soon. And again, to Prof. In Sung for kindly sharing your time. All right. With that, we will end today's session. Thank you so much.